Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Sometimes people who have buddies in the city department get outright cocky. In the first story, our OP encountered such a neighbor who was a real pain in the butt. So get ready, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. How dare you park in front of my house? When I was in college, I rented a house a few blocks off campus with two friends. We were the only students on the block, so at first we were not exactly welcomed. But we made an effort to be good neighbors. We didn't have any loud parties and always kept our property clean. The neighbors on one side were an older couple, and we always shoveled their sidewalk when it snowed and took their garbage cans in. These houses were all close together, and none of them had driveways, so everyone parked on the street. When we moved in, our landlord told us the unwritten law on the block was that each resident owned the parking space in front of their house. Okay, we can live with that. We were students and didn't use our cars very much, so two of us usually parked in a university lot a couple of blocks away. Our other neighbor was a single guy. He wasn't particularly friendly, so we mostly ignored him. Somehow we pissed him off, so he started harassing us with petty stuff. He had a motorcycle that he parked in a shed in his backyard. To get in and out, he had to ride right under our bedroom windows and made it a point to always rev his engine a few times. One day, the older couple next door got a flat tire. As I was changing it for them, a cop pulled up and asked what I was doing. I said I was just helping my neighbor who was standing right there. The cop said he'd received a report about gangbangers stripping a car. Another time, my battery died and one of my housemates brought his car over so we could jump-start it. As we were fiddling with the jumper cables, a cop pulled up because someone had reported us for operating an unlicensed auto repair business. The cop was pretty cool. He said the complaint came from the single guy who was some kind of supervisor in the city roads department. Even though the cops knew these calls were bogus, they had to be investigated. One night, my housemate's girlfriend came to visit. She wasn't aware of the parking rule and parked in front of the neighbor's house. He came home at about 2 a.m., found his space taken, and called the police. We were awakened by the flashing red lights. We went outside to find a cop ticketing her car and a tow truck getting ready to haul it away. So why was our friend being ticketed? She was parked on a public street. The cop explained that she had parked across the neighbor's driveway. What driveway? He pointed to a place where a section of the curb had been removed. We assume he got his buddies on the city road department to cut the curb so he could easily get his motorcycle in and out of his backyard. She said she'd moved the car. Sorry, too late. The truck was already here, but she could pay him the $50 tow charge right then. If he took it to the shed and picked it up the next day and paid an additional $35 per day storage fee. That's a lot of money for college kids, but we managed to scrape it up. The cop apologized for the inconvenience, but said he had to enforce the law, then handed her a ticket for $20. The next day, I went to the public library and looked up the specific ordinance we were cited for violating. Yep, there it was in black and white. Any vehicle parked on a public street that blocks access to any driveway is subject to fine and may be towed at the owner's expense. We waited a few days to exact revenge. After the guy came home and parked his car in his spot, we called the police non-emergency number and reported an illegally parked car. In a few minutes, a cop pulled up. He looked at the curb and decided it wasn't a driveway. That's when we handed him a copy of the ticket his colleague had written the previous week. We also showed him the Polaroid snapshots we took of the car and the driveway. Then we asked if there was one set of parking laws for permanent residents and another for students. He pondered that for a minute and started writing a ticket. That was about when the homeowner came out and argued that it was his own driveway. The cop explained that the ordinance makes no distinction for blocking your own driveway. The cop finished the ticket and suggested he park somewhere else. We played that game about once every 2 weeks until one day a crew from the city road department showed up and replaced the curb. And our second story. I fired a kid because his mother's harassing me. I, late 20s, run a department in a startup and hired a few student workers, 17 to 21, to conduct classes. He's not great, he shows up late, doesn't prepare, but when addressed, he starts to improve a lot. Still not as good as the others, but he gets the job done. His mom, however, she knows me through a mutual friend, and she's constantly been emailing me, asking me why she doesn't have access to the internal systems of the company so she can check on his work. Sending me voice notes of her screaming at him after he forgets about meetings, sending me messages to excuse him from these classes he's supposed to conduct last minute because she didn't finish up her rounds, or even when he just forgot. The last incident was when he showed up 25 minutes late, didn't even notify us. He knew I'd be out for the day and proceeded to bill for more time than he was there for. I wrote on his timesheet that he was overbilling and that he needs to inform us if he wasn't going to make it on time. A voice note followed, screaming, "Mommy Dearest saw the note I made," screaming at him. And I just can't anymore. I feel like a complete a-hole firing him, and I know his behavior justifies him being fired. Edit. I've spoken to both of them to cool it down with her behavior. I blocked the mom. She contacts me through his account, so she has access to our systems anyway, which is already an issue. Luckily, I've ensured he has no access to any systems with info on the minors taking the courses. This could have opened a whole can of worms. We hired the students because the model is focused on students teach students. We have kids that go through the program and can lead full classes at the age of 15. It's made for low-cost communities so kids can be taught how to be leaders. I love my job. It's changed so many lives and gotten teens to bloom. We have a handful of paid instructors for when the interns, the kids paying cents for the program, can't make it. HR is fully supportive of my decision as well as the higher-ups. They're actually encouraging it, but gave me the final call. And our last story. I painted my pool green after my neighbor complained about my green pool. One of my neighbors complained about our green pool. It had been neglected for the winter and was looking a bit gross. I was actually in the middle of getting the chemicals sorted when an officer from the council turned up to do an inspection. I showed her all the chemicals and she was satisfied that I was getting it sorted. A week later, and she's back. Neighbors have complained again. It turned out the fiberglass in the pool was badly damaged and we've decided to rip it out and start again. Neighbor does not like the concrete pool. Council officer mentioned that the neighborhood kept going on about how at least the concrete look was better than green. They apparently went on at length about how much they hated looking at a green pool. Green is my favorite color. The tradies doing our work also heard the neighbors complaining about our green pool. They showed me a color chart that lists emerald green as an available color. They'll give me a discount on that color if I want it. I've always wanted a green pool. We're going to start painting next week. Edit. It's ready to be sealed next week. The sealant has to cure for 7 days, then we can paint. So I'll be back to update in a couple of weeks. Update. So the pool is still not done. We finally finished sealing it after lots of problems with the weather. It has to cure now for 7 days, then we can add the paint as long as it doesn't get over 30 degrees Celsius. It's going to be tight to get it finished before the really hot weather starts. I've spoken to the neighbor a few times, and they've made several more complaints to the council about us because of the noise and rubbish associated with renovations. The council's told them that if they make another vexatious complaint, they'll take action against them. I've also spoken to the neighbor about a tree on the fence line that's pushing against the fence, causing it to become a bit unstable. It's apparently our fault, and they're not paying to have the tree removed or fix the fence. I asked them why it was our fault when the tree's clearly on their side of the fence, and they just ranted about the noise of the concrete grinder and stomped away. The next day, they had trimmed all our trees that overhang their fence and thrown the branches into our yard and into the pool. I'm biding my time. My council friend said that they bear the responsibility, obviously, and that when we get the council out to inspect the newly renovated pool, they'll make a big song and dance about the fence, send them a fine, and repair it or else order. So, still nothing too exciting, but I will update once the green paint starts going on. Update. So our pool is nearly finished. The weather is really held up. The sealant needed 3 days of clear weather to go on, but we didn't quite manage it. Then when it was finally time to put the color on, the weather got really hot. We managed to get the first coat on, but can't do any more because it was 48 degrees Celsius here today, and you could only use the epoxy between 10 and 28 degrees. Everything will need to be sanded again because you can only leave 24 hours between coats, and we're a tin of epoxy short. So everything's gone a bit pear-shaped. However, today the neighbors realized that the pool was going to stay green. I saw them looking over the fence and they did not look happy. They told us green pools are against the law. When I asked them to show me what law, they backtracked. They're going to report us to the council again for painting our pool green. It's an awful color and we should be ashamed of ourselves. I've made their lives miserable since they moved in, and it's our fault that they've had to complain so much. They said they would fix the pool themselves. I showed them one of the new security cameras at that point. They were going to send some friends around to talk to us. I reported it to the police, who said they'd go around and have a chat to them, and also spoke to the lawyer, who confirmed that A, there is no law against a green pool, and B, he would send a cease and desist letter for us if he could come and swim in the green pool. It should be noted that both the police officer and the lawyer are friends/relatives of the tradies who've worked so hard to get this done. Being nice to people pays off. I spent the afternoon trimming trees and dropping the branches back over their side of the fence. Small petty things are satisfying, but so are big expensive ones. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.